All right, what's going on, you guys? Brian here with a quick recap and my thoughts on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. I decided to check it out because last night I watched NXT instead of AEW Dynamite, so I thought I'd go back and watch it. I'll watch the episode. So let's just get right into the recap. We started off with a promo from Jake the Snake Roberts. He talked about Lance Archer, and he also mentioned Cody and Cody possibly losing to Shawn Spears in the TNT Championship Tournament quarterfinals because Cody doesn't want to face Lance Archer. Um, then we saw Lance Archer in action. He destroyed a jobber, and that was pretty much it for that. We saw uh, a bit of a rivalry match between Dr. Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida, who is the number one contender for the AEW Women's World Championship. And Hikaru Shida defeated Britt Baker uh, on last night's episode of Dynamite. Britt Baker suffered a bloody nose in this match. So, um, and she actually cut a promo a little bit later on talking about that and saying that she was lucky that Hikaru Shida didn't get her hands on her teeth. But she probably would have fixed them anyway because she was a dentist talking about Britt Baker's own teeth. That Hikaru Shida didn't get her hands and uh, hurt Britt Baker's teeth. So we had a bit of a segment involving the best friends, Trent and Chucky T, or Chuck Taylor, and Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. This would lead to their tag team match being for the name Best Friends because Omega and Nakazawa were talking about how they're better best friends than Orange Cassidy, who was in the bathroom listening in or hiding in the bathroom listening in, would come out and then he would bring in Chucky T and Trent, and they basically were like they challenged them, and they would put the name on the line. So if Omega and Nakazawa would have won, they would have been known as best friends. We had an AEW titles ranking promo talking about the different top contenders for each of the championships. Jake Hager is the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. Dark Order's Evil Uno and Stu Grayson are the number one contenders to the tag titles. Hikaru Shida is the number one contender to the Women's Championship, which is currently held by Nyla Rose. So that was pretty much it. Uh, there were two parts of the uh, build up to next week. To next week's world title no holds barred empty arena match between the champion Jon Moxley and Jake Hager. There was some video packages playing, building up to that match for next week. Of course, the AEW world title will be on the line. Moxley, the defending champion. Then we had the best friends defeating Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa, so they are keeping the name Best Friends. Then we had Brody Lee, the Exalted One, once again downgrading two of his minions. While another one was wearing a tie, he was downgrading the other two, why they didn't look like him and why they were not dressed like the way the other one was. We heard from Matt Hardy, who would wind up challenging Chris Jericho to a elite deletion match. And AEW is still up in the air of whether or not that's actually going to happen, or if it does happen, when it will happen. So, and that match, if it does in fact happen, would happen at the Hardy compound. So that was pretty much it for that. They did build up the quarterfinal match between Shawn Spears and Cody by replaying history of what's happened with them in the past. How Shawn Spears, when he made his debut, he hit Cody with a steel chair at Fighter Fest, or I think it was Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fallen, and that's how he got the nickname the Chairman. Um, Brody Lee won a squash match over Lee Johnson. And then in the main event, it was Cody defeating Shawn Spears by pinning him, or having Shawn Spears stay down while he was locked in the figure four. So that was pretty much it for that. So an overall good show. Um, I know NXT did win the ratings war this week, not by much. I believe it was by 1,000. So, or I think it was, yeah, it was like 1,000. It was like 692,000 to 693,000. AEW had 692, and NXT got 693,000 viewers. So a small little victory for NXT this week over AEW. So it is what it is. I thought both shows were really good. The one with on last night's episode, of course, of NXT was the Ciampa Gargano one final beat the Blackheart versus the Rebel Heart in an empty arena matchup, which was okay, but it was supposed to be the final. It was supposed to be the final encounter. So, it also on that episode, it had Io Shirai become the number one contender to the NXT Women's Championship. So, in a six-way ladder match, she will now challenge Charlotte Flair. But like I said, both shows had some really good matches. I thought the Shawn Spears and Cody match on last night's episode of Dynamite, I thought that was actually really good. So it is what it is. So with that being said, this has been my AEW Dynamite recap for last night's episode. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.